G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is Greg Jeanmart, technical lead at Safe. Having recently launched the vision for Safenet, the decentralized transaction processor network, which we'll get into, takes its inspiration from VisaNet. We're excited to talk to Greg about why their protocol will revolutionize on-chain onboarding for users like the proverbial grandma and finally create cross-chain abstraction for DeFi. Let's dive in. What's your origin story? How did you first get started in Web3?
Yeah, sure. So I fall into this blockchain rabbit hole, crypto rabbit hole back in 2016. At the time, I was head of innovation for a fintech startup doing cloud-based policy administration system for life insurance product. And basically, as head of innovation, I was doing a bunch of research on, AI, machine learning, big data, and blockchain. And as I was doing this research, I came across an article about the DAO. So the DAO was the first decentralized autonomous organization on Ethereum. And I just got fascinated by these technologies, by all the capabilities, possibilities, and use cases of Ethereum as a world computer. So I just decided to deep dive into this technology. And I found it fantastic and I got passionate, even though back in 2016, it was really hard to do anything with Ethereum. It was kind of broken. Ethereum itself wasn't broken, but all the tooling wasn't existing or was broken in beta. And I think I was part of the fun. But moving forward to 2017, I decided to join Consensus full-time. So jump full-time into this world of blockchain. And Consensus at the time was very much like a blockchain startup studio. And there was I would say 50 projects, maybe more startups being incubated by Consensus to kind of explore all of the use cases of Ethereum. And I actually started working on a project called Cori.io. And Cori.io was a technical content decentralized platform. And the idea was to build a community of contributors to write high quality technical content, articles, documentation, to onboard more developers to blockchain because it was kind of this new paradigm and we needed this content to facilitate the onboarding of new developers to blockchain and to crypto. So we worked on this project for 3 years and had some good results. Like there was something like 5,000 article technical content contributed to the platform. But moving to 2020, we decided to stop the project and move on. And this is when I joined Multis, a French startup, spending most of my time there as a CTO. And the idea of Multis, that there was a big gap between, traditional finance tool, like Mercury Bank, Xerox, QuickBooks, Spendesk. And there was nothing like this for crypto organization, DAOs, crypto startups. And we decided to build this all-in-one tool where you could have one or multiple crypto account that was actually built on top of Safe smart account, open a traditional bank account, issue debit cards, and actually make payments, run payrolls, pay invoice, and keep track of all of your payments, all of your balance, monitor everything, do accounting, get reporting. This was kind of what Multis did. And moving to 2024, because we had a very good relationship with Safe, there was this joint opportunity for Multis to join Safe because Safe wanted to double down on everything related to cross-chain, chain abstraction, and they wanted a team that is experimented into fintech, into blockchain. So that was the opportunity for Safe, and for Multis, this was the opportunity, to keep going on this journey at a larger scale, I would say. So back last year in April, the Multis team, including me, joined Safe. We started doing research on cross-chain, chain abstraction, and this actually eventually gave birth to Safenet.
All right, man. So I mean, Safe have they're kind of like the OGs, but you have already, like you just said, you've been playing around in the Ethereum ecosystem since way back in the, you could say very beginning, 2016. Doesn't get much earlier than that, really, when it comes to, crypto. If you want to go along with the Bitcoin maxis who say that Bitcoin's not crypto, but Ethereum certainly is. It's blockchain. It was, from my perspective at least, from a 2016, 2017 cohort perspective, was really the thing that made me interested in blockchain. Was, okay, it's not just Bitcoin, but we can do some things here. And Safe, really, they were way back in the day and very trusted and have been trusted from the very beginning. So when you joined with them, when Maltis and the crew came over, what was it about Safe in particular that drew you? Was it the size and scale and scope of what they were already doing? Was it just those strategic partnerships that you and synergies that you already had? What was it about them specifically? Because there's a lot of people trying to do chain abstraction, for example. What is it that made you go with them?
I think it's two things. So first is the Safe. Safe as an infrastructure is really powerful, and I definitely believe this will be a key component of the Ethereum infrastructure as a whole. I do believe that Safe will be part of this. It's a big journey where we want to scale to scale blockchain to the society, to the world, and eventually move the world GDP on chain. So this kind of we believe 100%, 200% into Safe, and also the people. So we had a very good relationship back then at Multis with the Safe team, with everybody, and this is a great team, very focused on the vision, and for us it was definitely a good transition to help Safe to tackle all of this cross-chain chain abstraction, which kind of the next milestone for us in this space.
Yeah, well, tell us about Safenet then. Why Safenet? What's the hope? What are you hoping to achieve with it?
Yeah, so why Safenet? I would start with a strong statement. It's because Web3 UX in 2025 still sucks and is still broken. There's a bunch of unnecessary friction for the users, and I can give you one metric. It's there is actually 5 to 10% only of crypto holders that are active and transacting on chain. So it's kind of a very bad metric, Only it means that 90%, 95% of people with crypto just don't do anything, and it's a shame because there is all these capabilities of blockchain that could be enabled to these people and to more people. So there's a big space for improvement here, and maybe the question is why are we here and what can we do for this? So I would just go back maybe in Ethereum 2019, 2020, when Ethereum was kind of struggling with congestion, scalability issue. You remember the gas price? To the roof, and basically for the user, you could wait for minutes, maybe hours, to get your transaction mined, validated on chain, which was already a terrible UX for sure. And so Ethereum came up with this roll-up centric roadmap. The idea was to do horizontal scalability. So let some teams build alternative blockchain around Ethereum that would be secured by Ethereum, but still other blockchains that can help to scale this ecosystem. So now in 2025, we have maybe something like around 100 layer 2, layer 3 at chain, and ours keep growing. And I do believe we will end up with 1,000 layer 2, layer 3 at some point. So we got this kind of infinite scaling for Ethereum.
I mean, 1,000 public rollups or layer 2s, or do you mean people using their own private chains that
No, public.
Wow,
public. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you have this kind of some general purpose layer 2s, and think of base, like Optimism, Arbitrum, and you potentially have more specific use case, still public, but application change, especially for big scaling chain. But in the end, with this world of scalability with multiple chain, we created this fragmented user experience, so back then, Ethereum feel like one ecosystem where you had one wallet, transaction on one chain. But no, even though it's supposed to be one ecosystem, everything is fragmented. You're moving from one app on Arbitrum, and then you're moving to Polygon to another app. It's very fragmented for the user experience because you need to have wallets everywhere, and your liquidity is actually spread everywhere, which also is kind of bad. So to answer this question, this is why we decided to build Safenet, to bring this kind of chain abstraction solution to the user to help putting back Ethereum as one single ecosystem, and where the user should just simply transact with application, no matter what underlying blockchain, underlying layer 2 it is, to make it faster, simpler, and more secure for the user. So I would say, so the idea is definitely to facilitate adoption, try to onboard more and more users, try to convert this 90 to 95% of people that actually don't use crypto, to convert them to start using DeFi and other decentralized application, and potentially move more users to this world of blockchain.
How does chain abstraction do that? So people who are listening but don't understand what chain abstraction is, why is it so important for onboarding more users to DeFi, or even just helping DeFi users to, like I said, not have to handle dozens of wallets on different chains?
Oh, yeah. So why it's important? I would say, because it's the user experience right now in this multiverse feel like you every time you travel to in a new country, the first thing you need to do is open a bank account and top up some money on this bank account before you can spend in this country. So this is unrealistic in 2025. You travel into a country, you have a card, and you can pay with your card no matter where you come from. But still in the crypto space, it feels like you need to open a new bank account every time you want to start using an application on a new chain. And I feel like, we need to have, if we want crypto to have an impact, we need to have the same convenience of application, like the Visa card, like a Revolut, like TransferWise, this kind of system that is already being used by many people. We need to do same, maybe better. So this is why cross-chain is super important. And I would say one of the issue with cross-chain is that we have this fragmented ecosystem, and every time we need to bridge. So you need to open a new wallet on a new chain, and you need to bridge assets. And the bridge in itself is kind of a lot of friction for the user, unnecessary friction. And risks, I would say, it's a black box. You don't expect the user to read the documentation, the white paper, and figure out if it's trustless, if it's decentralized, if it's secure. You just want to move your money as fast as possible. So for the normies, it's a black box, and you're giving away your money to the black box, and you pray for the money to actually arrive on the other side few minutes, sometimes a few hours later. So, it's just more complexity, more latency, and more risk for the user. And I don't ban bridge. Bridge are super important piece of infrastructure for the user. I'm just saying that it should be abstracted away from the user experience, from the user journey. And this is why actually with Safenet, we are building this chain abstraction solution that is at the account level. So it's similar to using a safe smart account, and you don't need to worry about bridging, because the bridge is abstracted away from the user, and hopefully we facilitate the user experience to jump into DeFi and to transact more on chain.
What kind of changes to UI or UX you mentioned before? But how do you actually interact with it then? If I have, like I said, you mentioned Polygon or Optimism, Arbitrum. If I'm trying to engage, and Ethereum itself, I'm trying to engage on all of these different levels. What does it look like then to interact with Safenet?
So interacting with Safenet. So first, I would say, what is Safenet? To me, Safenet is like, I would define it as a general purpose framework to spell your digital asset everywhere instantly. And there is actually two key concepts in Safenet. The first one is unify account, unify balance. That's the first concept. So you don't have wallets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You still have wallet everywhere, but you have this meta layer that feel like it's just one account with all of your aggregated assets in one place. So that's the first key concept. And the second key concept is what we call instant execution and delay settlement. So how does it feel like? So let's take the current state of things. Let's say there is a new chain. You can call it, I don't know, Don chain. And there's this new DeFi application on Don chain. And as a user, I want to deposit 100 USDC on this new DeFi protocol. So currently, what you have to do is open a wallet, potentially a Safenet account or something else on Don chain, and then bridge 100 USDC to this wallet before you can transact and do whatever you want on this chain. Again, as mentioned, it's a lot of friction. I'm pretty sure many people normally would just drop before having this wallet and this wallet funded. So with Safenet, instead, what will happen is, as a user, I just define my intent, and my intent is to spend 100 USDC on this DeFi protocol on Don chain. And I will sign this intent, and it will be picked up by what we call the processor. So the processor is a kind of an orchestrator on Safenet. And this intent is as something we could call like a debit authorization. And this is signed by the user. So debit authorization is also something we call resource lock. And what will happen is basically the processor will say, okay, intent looks good. I have a debit authorization for 100 USDC, and you have already 100 USDC on Polygon, let's say. But you have nothing on Don chain. And because you have this debit authorization, the processor will pass it to a liquidity provider that has liquidity on Don chain. We provision your account for exactly 100 USDC. And then the processor will execute the transaction. So your intent to deposit 100 USDC on this DeFi protocol. And what is super interesting with Safenet is everything I just explained in 1 minute is happening instantly. So the user sign, it's picked up by the processor, sent to the liquidity provider, we provision the account and we execute the transaction. And everything is happening in less than a second, let's say 500 milliseconds. And what's cool is the user doesn't have to worry about bridging, about funding, about creating a wallet. Whatever he wants to do, what he wants to do is deposit 100 USDC is happening instantly. So that's kind of the first part of Safenet is instant execution. But now as a user, I own 100 USDC to the liquidity provider because the liquidity provider funded my account. So this is where this debit authorization resource lock is interesting, because this will let the processor, after doing what we call the settlement, the settlement is giving all the proof, okay, as a processor, I executed your transaction, we provided you liquidity, and you sign a debit authorization on your account. So we can now debit the 100 USDC after from the user account and refund the liquidity provider. And what is interesting with this debit authorization, it's also prevent the user to double spend. So basically, you could say, okay, the user would just go away and spend the 100 USDC somewhere else. But because this debit authorization is also a resource lock, and because of smart account and smart contract account, we can actually lock the specific amount of USDC that was necessary to execute the user transaction. So this is what actually is really cool with Safenet. We enable instant execution. We delay the settlement, and it doesn't feel like you need to give away your money to a bridge sent to a chain before you can do whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want to do instantly.
So I hear all of this and I think that sounds amazing. Sounds wonderful. I have to give certain permissions on all of my different chains through all the different wallets to make it work, obviously. And so my next thought then is where is the risk, or what is the security kind of consideration or attack vectors here? Because if someone's already hesitant to use a bridge, although again, we should say bridges are generally really great. What kind of, for the cautious user, how do you say, well, chain abstraction is going to not just be convenient, but it's worth it. It's secure enough to be worth it. So you've mentioned how you won't be able to double spend from the user side. What about from the user in terms of the cautious user side rather than the cheeky user side?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So first of all, I think so. Safenet is not just another piece of infrastructure like bridge or some other solution. It's built within Safe Smart Account. So Safe Smart Account is already battle tested, and we have this concept of modules that are already battle tested, and it's just adding a module, this plugin to your smart account. So the surface of attack is very kind of smaller than just completely new layer of infrastructure. So it's a plugin on your wallet. Obviously, just like any other piece of code, on-chain code, it's fully audited. It's currently happening. It will be fully audited and formally verified. So there's definitely the risk will be, similar. If you trust Safe Smart Account, there is no reason to not trust Safenet, because in the end, it's just for the end user. It's just a module. Then there's also risk for the processor, for the liquidity provider, and we're actually working on this kind of. We have, how can I say that? We have this network of validators that are here to just decrease the risk of the whole system, especially between the liquidity provider and the processor, and those kind of entities, liquidity provider, and they are at stake. So they are specialized entity and they have a stake. So if anything wrong, if there's a malicious processor or whatever, because of the stake, they would be banned from the system.
Mm-hmm. For builders, how might they engage with Safenet, or people who are building dApps or things like this? What kind of, obviously we've heard about a bunch of the benefits for end users. How can builders kind of maximize what you're building to help DeFi users generally?
Yeah. So what we already have a large ecosystem of a large ecosystem of builder on Safe Smart Account. So we have around 200 ecosystem builder, including I can give you some example like World Chain. So World Chain is building this privacy preserving account with proof of personhood, and they already deploy something like 15 million account. And each account is a safe account. Another one is NosiSpay that is going crazy fast as well, which is connecting a Visa debit card to your safe self-custodial wallet. So for the builder, it's, I think every time a builder is building an application which is on different chains, they could benefit using Safenet to very easily move liquidity between one chain or another. Can give you maybe one example with NosiSpay. So NosiSpay is on Nosis chain. Your self-custodial wallet is on Nosis chain. And right now, if you want to top up your Gnosis Pay account to be able to spend with your debit card, you need to bridge your stablecoin. And we could imagine Safenet to actually facilitate the deposit to your Gnosis Pay self-custodial wallet. So this is a kind of example where application builders could actually benefit from Safenet.
Yeah, I mean, that speaks to, you mentioned before, we kind of brushed past it a little bit. You talked about bringing the world's GDP on chain. And I kind of want to go back and kind of zoom in on that. What does that even look like for us with some of the, you mentioned some of the scalability problems that are being addressed and even things that you are presently addressing. What needs to happen to make that goal of bringing the world's GDP on chain, even a fraction of it on chain? How do we make that happen?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, I love this punchline to move the world economy on chain, because I think it's one way to measure the impact, the global impact we can have on the world, on the society, in comparison to just saying blockchain is just for meme coins and gambling. So if we can have an impact on the world economy, it means that we have globally an impact on basically everything from consumer to institution to the central banks, for instance. So, but to answer your question, what needs to happen to move this? I think again, it's just focusing on adoption and having more and more user-facing application. And to go back into user adoption, Safe has been kind of a pioneer into account abstraction. So account abstraction is this idea of moving from the traditional EOA account, external account, this private key, seed phrase, people keep losing, could say, to the smart account world, sorry. And excuse me. And the idea of smart account is just more secure for many reasons. The first one is because you have this built-in multi-signature stuff that is actually very good fit for organization. Like I mentioned, for multis, when you can have multiple people to actually approve a transaction. For more individual people, you can use multi-signature as a 2FA, two-factor authentication, where you have 2-3 keys and you need to sign on your laptop, you need to sign on your mobile before moving, so it's just more secure. We can also have recovery, so in case you lost all of your keys, you can also implement some kind of recovery mechanism. So it's just 10 times more secure than traditional EOA and private keys. And it's also much more user-friendly. I can think of, gas sponsorship. Again, when you bridge USDC, you need to think about bridging native token, most of the time ETH, to be able to transact. And with a smart account, you can just have some sort of gas abstraction built into the smart account. And also stuff like session keys, pass keys, just to make it feel like you have a Web 2. It's feel like Web 2. It's feel like any normal application that you will use. So this is the first thing. It's this account abstraction thing to have a better adoption and onboard all the normies or friends or family. And I would say Safe has been pretty successful, maybe one of the most successful smart account provider. We have around 35 million Safe deployed for over almost 100 billion total value lock. So total value on every smart account on every chain there is around 100 billion. And we process something like around $900 billion of assets, so the transaction volume. So we've been progressing on this point. I feel like for the user adoption, the next step is chain abstraction. We mentioned it, and for us, is definitely the next milestone for facilitating interoperability and navigating this Ethereum ecosystem. So that's user adoption. I would say what needs to happen to move the world GDP on chain, it's also institutional adoption. So I do believe blockchain infrastructure as just better infrastructure for global financial institution. And I can give you some example like BlackRock moving into crypto, PayPal, there's Stripe also. So Stripe recently acquired a company called Bridge, and Bridge was doing cross-border payment using stablecoin. So, and basically you reduce, there's a huge cost reduction in infrastructure when you are a global company that is operating money transfer across the world. And so I do believe also to move the world GDP is not just consumer application. Your use case, it's also institution to move. And I think like everything is already here for them to move and to reduce the cost. And things is happening and we keep increasing. And lastly, we are focusing very much on infrastructure. I feel like now we start having this infrastructure is here for abstracting the complexity of this new paradigm of blockchain. And I do believe now we can have developers that can focus heavily on building an application, providing some good value for their user without focusing and spending half of the time on blockchain specificities that is very complex. And I can give you an analogy because I feel like it's very similar to cloud computing. You know, back then, before cloud computing, as a developer, you would spend half of your time just running servers, just scaling your database. And personally, I love it, but it's kind of a waste of time because it doesn't bring value for your user. And now we have cloud computing like AWS, Google Cloud Platform. This just abstracts all of this complexity of managing database, managing server, scaling, etc. It's completely abstracted away, and the developer, it's very easy for the developer to just focus on building the application. And what is interesting about this is that the user doesn't care about the underlying cloud infrastructure. You don't know if it's Google Cloud, AWS, and it's the same thing. Blockchain as a user, you shouldn't really care, but if it's Arbitrum, Polygon, or Timizon or Base, should be just a developer to pick up one chain because there's nice property, because it's cheaper, faster, whatever. But as a user, you should just, the application you want to use should just matter. The underlying technologies shouldn't be you shouldn't worry about this.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that the comparable to cloud computing in terms of, you know, back in the day you have to do it yourself, and then even when AWS first comes along, you still have to have a certain level of proficiency to make it happen, and you still can. If you want to delve into the weeds, you can do that, or you click a button and it does it all for you. And when it comes to blockchain or Web3, that really hasn't proliferated just yet. Like it's always the proverbial, can your grandma use it? Going back to the consumer, if you want to get billions of people to use it, it kind of has, the crypto or blockchain aspect kind of has to be baked in a way that you don't even really notice that you're using the blockchain necessarily, apart from all of the benefits of the blockchain. It seems to me that institutions are the, that institutional kind of section of what you mentioned before seems to be most primed to happen. Like some institutions are already coming on board, and even governments are starting to adopt, if not, crypto, at least blockchain and crypto, some of the currencies. What's the time frame, do you reckon? I'm not sure. Like, was it a decade for cloud computing to go from very, very tricky and expert knowledge needed to press a button and it's all done for you? I mean, blockchain, if you take Ethereum at 2015, 2016, we're coming up on a decade, really. How much longer do you think it's going to be before that application layer becomes the main thing, because the infrastructure is basically as good as it needs to be?
That's a good question. I can't predict things to happen, but what I know is we are seeing more and more institutional and large global companies picking up. It's hard to know. I mean, we know there's a few that are working with Safe, but again, this is something that is completely visible for the user. So I don't know if Revolut decide to go into cost reduction, leveraging blockchain technologies. As a user, I won't know, but it would still happen. So I'm optimistic, but I can't predict.
That's fair enough. Okay, if not a timeline, maybe think about how much of what needs to be done has already been done. Is it just a factor of it's already here? We just need to scale. Is it a factor of we're nearly there? There are just some elements that need to be refined, and then it can scale. Or then we have all the elements there. Is it a matter of is it a regulatory piece? Do you think?
Yeah, no, I think in terms of technical infrastructure, it's already here. Yeah, I mentioned that this company called Bridge doing stablecoin, cross-border payment for stablecoin that's being acquired by Stripe, and we've been using them at Multis back then. And so moving money cross-border for a few cents in a second is already here. And yes, definitely not expert into regulation, but this could be kind of a barrier, even though we might need some regulation for sure. But yeah, again, still very optimistic, and that things will move into the right direction when it comes to institution. Yeah,
fair enough. So we don't know, but we're pretty much there. Keep building is basically
keep building. Yeah,
that's a keep building. All right. Well, so Greg, you mentioned before, some of the limitations in the early days, especially. But even just some of the maybe accepted limitations of how Ethereum is going to scale, and Safenet or Safe being built on Ethereum. How is Safenet going to scale? Is it a factor of the abstraction means you're not so reliant on Ethereum, or is there something from the upcoming Petra upgrade that will kind of turn the tide or make a difference for Safenet specifically? How are you thinking about the scaling piece?
Okay. Safenet, can scale, I would say, in different ways. There's different angles. The first one is we need to scale the liquidity, because, again, if we want to onboard more users, so 90-95% that's not transacting on chain, plus maybe all the world, we need a lot of liquidity to be able to, provision this account, because there's this provisioning steps happening. So we need to scale liquidity and more supported token. And for that, actually, the Safenet team and Safe team is working with a liquidity provider, market maker, to make sure we have all the liquidity to support the user. And the ultimate goal regarding liquidity is to make it permissionless in a way that anybody could actually deposit some money into this Safenet liquidity pool and potentially earn some revenue from the fee generated by Safenet. So this is one way of scaling the liquidity angle. The next one is, I would say, so by definition, at start, Safenet is working with Safe smart account. But the space of smart account, there's many smart accounts, and there is around account abstraction, there is standardization between built-in. And I mentioned this module that is plugged into your Safe smart account. This could become a standard that could be plugged into other smart accounts. So this is also one other way to scale Safenet, is to start supporting other smart account implementation. That's the second way. And the last way to scale Safenet, and to me the most interesting one, is for the V1, Safenet is really focusing on the EVM space. So we want Safenet to make the Ethereum ecosystem feel like one ecosystem and not a fragmented ecosystem with many chains. So we are very much focusing on EVM space, so supporting all the layer 2, like Base, Arbitrum, Scroll, etc., etc. But Safenet could actually go beyond EVM chain, and we could imagine a Safenet processor that runs on Bitcoin and or Solana. And for example, you can have this specialized processor and specialized liquidity provider where you could issue this resource lock authorization debit on your Safenet account. And if you have 100 USDC on Polygon, and you could say, I need to pay someone in Bitcoin, but I never heard about Bitcoin. I don't know what is it. I never touched Bitcoin. And you could have this Safenet coprocessor specialized in Bitcoin that will actually create an account for you, fund your account, and perform the transaction on your behalf, and then settle using your Safenet smart account, Unify account, and Unify balance that is on EVMs. And so that we could scale Safenet to other blockchain, and I can go beyond that. And we could scale Safenet to off-chain system. And I can give you 2 examples. The first one is a centralized exchange. You could imagine a specialized Safenet coprocessor that is running with a centralized exchange. And basically, you could leverage your liquidity on your self-custodial Safenet Unify account inside centralized exchange, because centralized exchange has some good features. They have liquidity, they have limit orders, there's, margin trading, this kind of stuff. If you want to leverage this, but without having to deposit money, assets directly on the centralized exchange, we could use a safe processor to actually issue a resource lock, and you could leverage your liquidity on the centralized exchange while using your self-custodial assets on your Safenet account. And we could imagine something very similar as well with Visa. So kind of what Nozispace is doing, but in a more general purpose way, where there would be a Visa Safenet coprocessor. And every time you swap your card, it's issue a resource lock on your smart account. So which means you need to repay for this $3 coffee you just buy. And automatically the Visa Safenet processor will pull the assets from your self-custodial account, and there will be a mechanism to convert it into fiat and to pay the merchant. But we could imagine Safenet to go beyond the EVM space, and again with this idea to move the world economy on chain. I think this is a way, right?
So the EVM ecosystem, the fractured nature of that, the L2, L3 space, bringing that all into one, or at least feeling like it's one ecosystem. That's kind of step one, or the proof of concept for you. And then post that, I guess the kind of the things you were talking about with regard to exchanges, that could be parallel to that very easily, surely. And getting the processes working on Bitcoin or Solana or others. It seems like a very natural next step for you guys. Is there a timeline on that? Is that like on the roadmap, or are these just this is how it could be done sometime in the future?
Well, I would say there's a specific date on this because we are very focusing on this V1 Safenet that will be released by end of Q1. So this is definitely a good first goal. But yeah, and also the idea is Safenet to be a general purpose framework for developers. So maybe this specialized coprocessor won't be developed by Safe. It could be developed by some other company, by a centralized exchange, by some people that specialize in Bitcoin. So definitely we want to push other developer teams to use Safenet and to leverage all the $100 billion of assets that is actually locked into Safe smart account to create this kind of system where you can spend anywhere instantly. So we would definitely do experimentation, potentially, with the off-chain system, traditional finance, or other blockchain. But I also expect to grow the Safenet ecosystem just like we grow the Safe ecosystem.
Yeah, man, it strikes me that at least traditionally, or I can even say traditionally in crypto, but back in the day, Safe was especially used by projects that wanted to have their treasury, parked somewhere, or people who wanted to, have long-term storage. And so there'd be a lot of liquidity locked up that's really not doing much at all that could be very easily put to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. How are you getting the word out?
Sorry, say that again?
How are you getting the word out? How are you helping people understand the opportunities and what you're trying to build and how that can be involved?
Okay. I would say, it's also partnering with the whole ecosystem, whole DeFi ecosystem to make people aware of what they can do. And one way of doing it, it's also using, Safe Wallet as this concept of the safe apps, where it's not safe. It's just other developers from other decentralized applications that can be this kind of very similar to App Store application on top of your safe, and you to be able to leverage some other applications. So this is one way. And also we have this whole ecosystem of builders. So it comes to managing this community, all the community around safe, all the people to use to start building on safe, because it's in the end it's better tested, and we believe this would be one of the core infrastructure for the future.
Sure. For Safe and for Safenet, at least at the moment, kind of gone all in on EVM. Do you think that? Obviously you do. In what ways do you think that Ethereum can live up to its hype and potential?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. On one way, I'd say I feel like Ethereum is already big enough, and you the feeling that this is where all this infrastructure that can have a positive impact on the world is happening, in comparison to meme coin, gambling, and so on. So yeah, I'm again pretty optimistic about Ethereum. What's happening? It wants to go it's definitely going to the right direction to make the change. And I can mention one example is next art fork, called Pectra. And as Safe, we've been pushing for the count abstraction for a very, very long time, because as I mentioned, count abstraction is more secure, it's more user friendly. And in Pectra, there is a very specific item called EIP 7702. And the idea was to be able to convert a EOA, so this kind of single private key like MetaMask, Ledger, to convert, I would say temporarily, an EOA to a smart account. So you can leverage stuff like gas sponsorship, batch payment, recovery, key rotation, two-factor authentication, all this kind of stuff. So this is one way to, again, move into a better ecosystem with easier onboarding, easier adoption for the end user.
Greg, I know you are like heads down, got launch coming up very, very soon. What else are you excited about? If you can lift your eyes just a little bit, above Safenet for just a moment, what are you excited about in 2025? What do you think the entire, not just market, but ecosystem is going? If anyone can know, you're in the thick of it. Where do you think, what are you most excited about?
I can tell you about one thing I'm super excited in 2025. It's the AI/Web3. That's the convergence of AI agent with Web3. This is kind of amazing space. I'm not an expert into AI, but I do believe, again, going back into this user experience thing, that's just like ChatGPT and other AI tool has been boosting the productivity of anybody, I feel like these AI tools could actually boost the productivity and the experience for user, and to be able to onboard normies to the crypto world. This could also help for abstraction and obviously for automation. So I can imagine going back into multis as an all-in-one finance tool. We could imagine AI agent that facilitate, running payroll, the end of the month, paying invoicing, doing, trading strategy on DeFi, and actually you don't want to put an AI agent with full access on your EOA private key. With smart accounts, you can create smart account is the best to work with AI agent, because you can create this kind of session keys. You give access to the AI agent, and you can create spending limit. You can say, okay, you don't spend too much, don't spend everything, you just spend 1,000 USDC max or something. You can say, okay, you can trade whatever you want for 1 week, and we'll see what happens. But that's kind of a power of smart accounts like Safes. It's you can create this kind of very custom rules, and you can put give this rule to an AI agent. I would do a shameless plug. We have actually a AI hackathon. It's called Agentathon with Safe going on. So on slash.global, safe.global/AI. So we have a bunch of teams that is working hard into building some kind of AI agent and trying with this automation use cases. So I'm pretty excited about AI on Web3.
Yeah, man. Especially like you say, as account abstraction becomes the norm, and as liquidity is really unlocked. As that having 1,000 chains on the one hand, for me, sounds really scary, because you have liquidity spread over 1,000 chains. But if that's not spread over 1,000 chains, if it's 1,000 chains operating as one liquidity kind of bucket, if you like, then man, put the agents to work. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on top of Safenet.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? If that's what you're looking forward to this year, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to that kind of agentic future is high everybody's wish list. Do you have any views that are particularly contrarian, or that you hold to but nobody else seems to, or every time you hear people talking about what they're excited about, you think that's not going to happen, or things that might be fearful of, you think that's definitely going to happen, or any contrarian views?
Good question. I don't know if this is a contrarian view, and it's kind of related to what we discussed, but to me, the real killer app for blockchain will be Invisible, the one we know. Oh yeah, sure. So definitely believe that, again, we come from infrastructure abstraction, institution stuff, and we will onboard people like your friends, family to some new application, and we'll enjoy it. I don't know, it could be have an impact on society, on communication, on finance and stuff. But blockchain will be used under the theme, but nobody will know. So it will be completely invisible. And I can give you one example, because I kind of like gaming and playing. We can take gaming example, like Steam has over 150 million users on the platform. And I would love to see more cross-chain, cross-game economy, loyalty program, digital ownership on gaming assets. And in the end, as a user of Steam, I'm not interested into the underlying technology, if it's blockchain. I just want to play. I just want to have fun. And this is why we can imagine a blockchain being a core infrastructure of the world, of the society to transact in this new digital age. But as a user, you don't need to worry about this. Let's just have fun and play some good games, right?
Yeah, Greg, I don't think that view is very contrarian, because I hear it all the time, but I don't think the average Web3 user or builder wants it to be true. For some reason, we want blockchain to kind of be, front and center. Whereas I totally agree with you, man. It's the one that kind of utilizes it, but without centering it. They're the applications they're going to be the killer applications. Obviously built on, really wonderful, you might say even like beautiful, complex infrastructure that makes it simple. But yeah, man, I think most people would acknowledge that is true, but they don't want it to be true for some. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe they want it to be sexy, but blockchain just. As soon as I think we as a collective get over trying to make Web3 sexy, we're actually gonna start cutting through. I think perhaps. Greg, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and man, all the best with the lead up to. I mean, everything we've talked about building today sounds like a very necessary step in the kind of adoption that we're all hoping actually happens, or we're working towards happening, and bringing the world's GDP on chain as well. I think it's a great goal. All the best with the launch, and if people would like to find out more about what you're building or how they can be involved, where can they find you online?
You can find us on safe.global. There's a blog, there's a documentation, there's already a bunch of documentation about Safenet if you want to look at what does that work in depth. And also on Twitter, obviously, Safe Global for all the news that is happening in our ecosystem.
Good on you, Greg. Thanks so much. We'll put all those details in the show notes as well. And look forward to seeing what happens over the next couple of months.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off-Chain. We love bringing you great guests like Greg and hope we've inspired you to learn more about Web3, about technology, about the future and how you might be a part of building it. As always, please like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word and join us again next week for another exciting episode of Off-Chain. Till then, take care.